Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We're talking about NBA betting odds in this one for the conference finals, and some other stuff within the NBA. So stay tuned throughout the whole video to hear all of these different bets that I'm going to talk about in this video. And if you're not on some of these betting sites, definitely click that top link in the description or the pinned comment to sign up for these so you can get the best odds plus all the free money that these sites are giving out for the NBA playoffs. It's definitely going to be worth it if you're going to be betting on the NBA for these playoffs. You can see with this link, you can instantly claim these top promos from the sportsbooks. It takes you right to that promo. Such as with DraftKings, you get a no sweat bet up to $1,500. So let's get into this one. We're going to skip these games odds, but subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be coming out with player props for both these games upcoming here in the next couple of days. But let's get into some of these conference odds here. So the first one, we got Boston versus Indiana. Boston a massive favorite here at minus 850. I'm staying away from that. If you're just betting straight on Boston here, you're not going to make a ton of money because the odds are so high. If you do like Indiana, which I don't, I would not be betting on this one personally, but some people could be picking Indiana here. If you like them, plus 700, great odds. A more interesting bet for the series is to come down to the exact series score here. So the most popular pick is going to be Boston in 5 games here at plus 215. If we're looking at arbitrage betting, you could see why you should play this one on DraftKings and sign up for DraftKings, because if you bet $100 on Boston in 5 games, you're going to get a $315 payout. With MGM and FanDuel, payout you can see is a lot less, $280 and $255. So you're definitely leaving money on the table if you're only playing with one bookmaker, for instance. But the pick for me that I like the best in this series would be Boston in 6 games here. The payout is going to be a lot higher here. I do think Porzingis is not going to come back for at least the first game or two in this series, and Boston has looked a little shaky defensively without him. So I think that the Pacers can pick up 2 games in this series, and then you get this at plus 450 with BetMGM. Again, if we look at BetMGM over here, wagering $100, you're going to get a $550 payout versus just $510 or $500 with DraftKings. So definitely worth signing up for MGM as well. Coming back to all this top sportsbook promos with that link that's top of the description and pinned. Right here, we can get the best welcome bonus for MGM by just clicking on the link. It's the same deal here as DraftKings, $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. So a ton of free money for signing up for these sportsbooks, plus obviously the higher payouts with doing a little arbitrage betting. Another interesting one I found within this series is that if you do like Indiana to win this one, you would think it would be in 7 games because they are such big underdogs here. You probably wouldn't want to bet them to win in 6 games, and it's just plus 1900 for them to win in 6 on DraftKings, but you can play over on FanDuel for them to win in 7 and actually get higher payouts, which I think would be a more likely outcome based on how big of an underdog they are, that they would rather win in 7 versus 6, and you get more bang for your buck by betting on Indiana to win in 7 if you're playing over on FanDuel as well. And using that link to get the best FanDuel offer, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets for new customers. So they have a different deal over there. All right, let's move on to the next series, Minnesota versus Dallas. I think this one should be a little more even. I kind of like Dallas. I liked them in the last series when they were bigger underdogs than they are now in this one, and bet on them to win that series, which obviously worked out in my favor here. I would go back to Dallas for the value at plus 150. Right now at plus 150, MGM is going to be your top option here if you're arbitrage betting and are on all of these different platforms. So I would go with Dallas here. If you really like Minnesota, definitely getting some good deals on DraftKings at minus 170. You can see minus 175, minus 185 on these other sites. As far as series score, I would go Dallas here in 7 games. Again, this is going to give you a higher payout than going Dallas in 6 games here when you're playing on FanDuel. Pretty massive difference, honestly. If you look at picking Dallas in 6, if you do like Dallas, a $100 payout is going to give you plus 575 versus taking them to win in 7 games on FanDuel. $100 is going to get you $850, so almost a $300 difference for taking Dallas in 7 versus 6 games if you do like Dallas in this series. If you're liking Minnesota and are on that side, I think Minnesota in 6 makes a lot of sense here at plus 500 on DraftKings. Versus them in 7, it's going to be a lower payout at plus 400. And then Minnesota in 5 games seems just less realistic to me. I think Minnesota in 6 here, if you're liking them to win the series, looks pretty good here at plus 500 for a higher payouts than them winning in 7 games. So that's a route I would go here for Minnesota if you're liking them. All right, then a random side note here. We got NBA Futures first pick, which hasn't been talked about a lot. Alex Sarr minus 300 on Bet365. If you're not on Bet365, they have a lot of interesting bets like this. They're the only one that has this up right now, apparently. And the odds at minus 300. I haven't seen a mock draft yet without Alex Sarr as the first overall pick. But also, I haven't heard really any rumors of like what Atlanta is thinking to do. They do have Capella and Okongwu and Jalen Johnson as their bigs here. So I don't really know if they would add another big or they could just take best player available and take Sarr. But minus 300 right now for all of these sites, like having him as the consensus #1 pick, even though we are still over a month away from the draft. Seems like pretty decent odds, and you can get that over on Bet365, and you can get that top welcome bonus here with that link. Okay, so now let's move into the NBA Championship future winner. Boston's going to be the top here, minus 150, Minnesota, and then Dallas. So with this, you have to think that Boston has a clear path to the finals versus an easier opponent here versus Indiana. At least it looks like on paper. You never know what can happen in that series. But if you imagine Boston makes it to the finals and they're up against Minnesota and Dallas, can you imagine Boston still being at minus 150? Or do you think they would be a heavier favorite once they get there? If you think they could be something like minus 200, minus 210 right before the finals start, could make sense to take Boston now. Another interesting play here with picking a championship futures winner is I don't think it makes as much sense with Boston because they have Tatum and Jaylen Brown, or maybe even Porzingis that could be the finals MVP. So I just think they have a few finals MVP choices here. But if you do like Minnesota to win the championship at plus 290, I think it makes sense to actually come down and just pick Anthony Edwards here to be the NBA Finals MVP, because I really can't see another player on Minnesota getting the Finals MVP if Minnesota does win it. It seems like Anthony Edwards would be a lock to get it. Can't really see Towns getting the MVP, and then Rudy Gobert, I mean, he would really have to increase his points per game, I would be guessing. I can't see Gobert getting the MVP if he averages, like 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks. I just don't think that's going to be enough to get him the MVP if Anthony Edwards would probably be averaging like 30 points a game in this series. So if you do like Minnesota to win it, kind of an interesting pivot play here for better odds would just be to take Anthony Edwards as your final MVP, and Bet365 has that bet here. And I would say same thing with Dallas. Kyrie Irving has been pretty inconsistent in the playoffs, and I would just think that Luka would be a lock to win the Finals MVP if Dallas does win the championship. I can't really see Kyrie carrying them in the NBA Finals to the championship. I think it would definitely have to be Luka. So you could bet on Dallas to win the championship at 525, or come down and get Luka here at plus 600 to win Finals MVP on DraftKings. So if you guys are into what we just talked about in this video, arbitrage betting, definitely click on that link to sign up for these different sportsbooks to get their top welcome bonuses here, and also so you can get those increased odds by taking some of these bets on different sites here with a little arbitrage betting. Also, if you're interested in player props for these upcoming games on Tuesday and Wednesday. Subscribe to the channel. Those videos will be going up very soon here in the next couple of days. And then it's never too soon to talk about the NFL season. So if you guys are interested in some NFL season props, definitely click on this video here on the end card. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in another video.